My name is Jennifer Cruz, and I consent to this interview. I am from Louisiana, born and raised. I moved to New Mexico 21 years ago, and I come from a Mexican-Irish family. My mom's Irish, my dad's Mexican, and I was raised in Duck Dynasty territory, so you can imagine why I might really love it in New Mexico. I moved to Albuquerque to attend University of New Mexico's medical school for their occupational therapy program. I've been here ever since, so almost 18 years I've been in New Mexico. Occupational therapy is a holistic, client-centered approach to patient care in which the interventions are made up of activities that are meaningful to the patient. But basically what that means is we help people to do the things that are meaningful to them. OT was actually born out of the need for working with soldiers who would return from the war, and they might have had an amputation. They might have, had a traumatic brain injury. They may have still been able-bodied, but the world around them just saw them as people with disabilities and felt like they couldn't be contributing members to society. So occupational therapy was sort of born by bringing together a mental health interventions and physical disability interventions. So OT has been a career for over 100 years, and it basically came from bringing mental health, medicine, and physical rehab all together. We have a very broad scope of practice, and it's even something that they teach us to do in OT school is to create an elevator pitch so that we can explain what OT is to folks, because a lot of times they hear occupational therapy and they're like, oh, can you help me get a job? You can, occupation, that's what people associate with occupational therapy, until they've had an experience with one of us, and once you've worked with an OT, you never forget it. My girlfriends that I had made in the special ed department, who were therapists, came over one night. They're like, we just want to see you, just check in on you. They came over, they brought some wine, and they're like, we're here to stage a Jennervention. It's like, what's going on? And we said, well, and then they're like, well, we just feel like you should be considering something else. Well, we think that you would make a fine chef, you would make a fine attorney, and you would make a fine farmer, grower. We see all of those professions sort of taking you away from interacting with people. And we see the way that you engage with your students as your real gift. And so we are here. It was an OT and a speech therapist and a PT. And they were like, and we're just here to encourage you to consider occupational therapy. You already think like an OT because of the way that you're such a problem solver and you really think out of the box about things. And I owe that to my philosophy degree, my philosophy undergrad. And we just feel like you should at least check it out because you can still be involved in therapeutic gardening and cooking. You can still be involved in policy and advocacy, but your real bulk of your day is in interacting with people and just having that therapeutic use of self, and it was really sweet because they were like, because your presence is a blessing, which is, just like the sweetest thing. So then all of a sudden I'm researching OT programs and like looking more into it and finding out more about it because I'm like, well, what the hell is OT? I know what the OT does with my kids and she's awesome and we co-plan and we do cool things, but I don't really know outside of what I see about what they do. And the more I read, the more I was like, oh yeah, this is my jam. And then I applied for OT school, and here I am. I'm several places in my life where women have just shown up for me, right? Like, I don't want to say uninvited, that's the wrong word, but unprompted, right? Where they noticed these pivotal moments in my life where they're like, we're going to give you some wisdom. My crowning moments in advocacy wasn't more of a systemic advocacy. It was for an individual client of mine, and he's a guy on the developmental disabilities waiver. And this just happened like during the pandemic, and I still, it blows my mind that this happened. Insurance companies love to deny equipment for folks. They're like, this is not medically necessary. And can you imagine getting sponge baths for months, like, and not just feeling clean? And this is a guy, I think a lot of people don't realize this, but folks with disabilities are just like us, you know, and some folks are really metro and they want to be clean in particular. And this guy is one of those guys. Yeah, he has a spastic quadriplegia and he's in a wheelchair, but he likes to look sharp. He likes to be clean and fresh for the ladies, you know. But without this shower chair, he was just feeling grungy and was having behaviors. And he's nonverbal, but makes a lot of facial communication and vocalizations. And he was angry and he was lashing out at people and he was hurting his staff because he wanted a shower, right? He wanted to be clean. And the physical therapist and I worked on letters of medical necessity. We sent it in. We got the doctor on board. We did a lot of collaboration beforehand, so we really had our ducks in a row. And yeah, the chair that we asked for was like over $20,000, but it was going to last him for 10 plus years, right? And it was going to promote something that was meaningful to this client, being able to be clean, like, right? The things that we take for granted. Being able to be clean and to be safe in the process of getting clean. So it was denied, of course, initially. So then we went through this appeals process. Oh, it's like an actual hearing. There's a judge. There's, you know, it's actually legal. I was thinking it was like a hearing with a medical director or something. No, it's actually a judge hearing our case, and it was set up for us to both present. We didn't have an attorney. You know, we got document dumped. We got this huge packet of stuff that we were supposed to review like 2 days beforehand. I think I might have been the only person in the team who went through it. Anyway, we end up on this call, and the judge is, you know, asking us to present, and we're like talking about him, and, you know, we see him every week, sometimes twice a week. Here's the reasons why. If you turn to this page in the packet, here are the photos that show, you know, I mean, it was so perfectly documented. And we were like, how is this getting denied? Like, it felt like, did anybody even read our packet? And so then the other side, the doctor on the other side, then they questioned her, and she was giving all the like technical reasons why. And they gave her an opportunity to ask us questions, to kind of do a cross-examine. And then they were like, well, do you have any questions for the other side? And we were like, So I was like, okay, I've seen enough Law and Order. Like, I'll step in. I asked a couple technical questions, and then I was like, could you just describe what my client looks like? Like, what image are you seeing in your mind when you think about this client? Because I gave a packet. It had lots of pictures of the client. Can you describe what he looks like? Silence. I can hear her like flipping. And I got to say, I rest my case, Your Honor. It was so awesome. None of us had hope that he was going to like actually give an okay for it, but it was like my Perry Mason moment, okay? And I felt really good about it, and I was like, you know, even if we continue to strike out, like, we did our best. Like, we worked really hard to advocate for this client. We went above and beyond, for sure. And so we felt good about it. And then, you know, we're not going to hear anything for a couple of weeks. And so then we're already starting to look at, well, okay, can we reach out to Kiwanis? Can we reach out to, you know, just most folks who have disabilities, a lot of times they have to crowdsource this material for themselves because their insurance doesn't cover it. They can't have jobs, so they can't, like, make money. And a lot of times folks with disabilities have families that are lower income, a lot of times because somebody has had to give up working to take care of them in their lives. So it's not like they have this abundance of cash flow to get the things that they need. Anyway, long story short, we're already moving on and looking for funding sources. And then we get the call from this client's mom 2 weeks later that it got approved and we won our case. So that was my crowning moment of like client advocacy.